This is the hardest video I've ever made. This is not a red pill video. This is actually a video about your amazing body and the invisible limits of pain that we cage ourselves with. The truth is this: pain is nothing to be afraid of. So, listen closely, as this may well be the important video that you need to watch to reach that breakout success that you have been waiting for. When I was a kid, I was pretty defiant. I was that kid who would hear the same warning 100 times, but still had to touch the hot stove just to see for myself. I literally have burn scars from touching an iron, hair straightener, stove, pot, and more. Even now, I still burn scrap pieces of paper just for fun. Most people will probably hear this story and think, wow, this guy's a dumbass, but the way I see it is this: I survived because the fire inside burned brighter than the fire around me. The way I interpret this quote in my situation is that I've been burned so many times that getting burnt again is nothing. My pain threshold is way higher than most people, because if I'm okay with getting burnt, what does it matter if I have to trek in the hot sun for hours and get sunburns? What does it matter if my AC stops working? What does it matter if I have to go for a run in the scorching hot sun? You just do it. In this video, I'll be doing a cold plunge. But why the cold plunge? A few years ago, my morning routine consisted of me taking a cold shower at 4 AM in the morning with freezing cold water. I used to struggle with these cold showers, and sure, my hand has more insulation than my body because of tendons and such. But what changed the most is actually my mind. And yeah, I mean in a woo-woo, I'm more tough now kind of way. I'm still pretty young, so since then, I've had a relatively significant increase in life experience. Among these life experiences, I would say there are two kinds of pain: physical and emotional. A reason for the cold plunge is because I don't have to budget for an ice bath, but more importantly, the cold plunge challenge differs from other arguably more painful challenges. Unlike the physical pain of getting sucker punched in the liver, the endurance test of eating a Carolina Reaper, or the challenge of psyching yourself up and getting over your fears of the seemingly painful cold walk, the cold plunge is difficult in all of these aspects. For a start, the sharp tingling sensation from frostnip hurts, but beyond the initial shock of how cold the water is, the tempting rage-baiting feeling of knowing you can just pull your hand out at any time makes the challenge harder. Moreover, during the making of this video, I failed more times than I can count and nearly gave up. Simply finding the motivation to see this idea through was tough. Another reason for the ice bath is because I wanted to parallel the benefits that you could get if you could just do it. Exercise. Those three syllables describe a simple way of making you a millionaire. You know it's good for you, but many still don't do it because it hurts, it sucks, and it's painful. Just do it. But how can exercise possibly make someone a millionaire? No one is actually paying you to exercise, unless that's your job. But think about it this way: if you don't exercise, cholesterol will harden and build up in your blood vessels. You can see 40, 50-year-olds in the ER for heart attacks all the time. Getting a heart attack means time spent in rehab, and thus hospital bills, as well as time off work, and not to mention the permanent damage to your heart. Beyond the priceless repercussions of a heart attack, some studies estimate a heart attack to have a lifetime cost of $1 million. Guess what? None of this would have happened if you just do it. This is just one example of how being able to tolerate physical pain can help you in life. But how do you do it? How do you just do it? You know the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Well, biologically, it's true. Simply speaking, your body undergoes a process called homeostasis, where cells, systems, and pathways adapt to improve after low or moderate stress. Whenever your body undergoes low or moderate stress, the environment of the cell undergoes changes. Perhaps there's a change in temperature, pH, metabolic, or oxidative stress. These all can alter chemical pathways in the cell which normally occur in the body. Known as epigenetic changes, these alterations allow for the formation of structures, specifically on or in your DNA, the blueprint of life. DNA works by having proteins in your body read DNA to produce other different kinds of proteins, which functions are part of literally almost every process in your body. When stress causes structural changes to DNA, namely histone acetylation or methylation, the DNA is now read differently. This could mean a protein is produced more or less often, starts being produced, or is no longer being produced, which can lead to positive effects like reinforcement of protective pathways, allowing you to feel less pain from more painful things, faster repairing of damaged cells, and more. Therefore, overcoming physical pain is as simple as exposing yourself to more and more low to moderate levels of pain. If you don't normally exercise, don't start with 2-hour high-intensity workouts 5 times a week. Start smaller, go for a walk once a week, and slowly work your way to a jog, then a sprint, then longer distances, or perhaps with more weight. Most exercises have various variations, which target different muscle groups, but that doesn't matter, just do it. Just do one, and when you get bored, get the adrenaline rush going again by trying different variants. Now, let me tell you a story about cobras. In the early 1900s, Delhi, under the British colonial government, had a massive cobra population problem. In an effort to reduce the number of deadly cobras, the British colonial government offered a bounty for every dead snake brought to them. This initially reduced the number of wild cobras, but soon, people began to breed cobras and kill them for their bounty. When the government cancelled the program, the breeders just released their cobras, leading to a far worse wild cobra infestation problem than before. This story illustrates how a well-intentioned incentive can backfire, leading to an unintended and negative outcome. This is why you shouldn't overstress your body of physical pain. The time required to heal from the damage is greater than the duration that the structural changes in DNA last, leading to the cobra effect. All too often, I see people fall into the trap of trying to catch up in life. They start exercising extremely vigorously in the gym, despite clearly having never worked out before. After a few weeks, they are nowhere to be seen. After they give up, what they experience is emotional pains. There are two main kinds. The first one being the intense emotional outburst of negative emotions, which consist of anger, grief, trauma, anxiety, uncertainty, more. And the other being the agony of resisting one's urges and impulses. These include 5 of the 7 deadly sins: greed, lust, envy, gluttony, and sloth. Let's start the first kind. When I was in primary school, no one ever taught me how to study. No one ever taught me to listen in class either, so most of the time, I had no idea what was even going to show up in the test. This was especially true in my worst subject, Chinese. I did terribly at home. My parents attributed this to me watching American YouTube videos, and they labeled me as bad at Chinese and American-born Chinese, or ABC. And as a kid, I leaned into it. I took pride in that label. I joked that I hated Chinese and acted like it didn't matter. I genuinely didn't realize how deeply that mindset was ingrained into me. This carried on into secondary school. Same habits, same results, but as I grew older, something shifted. For the first time, I actually wanted to change. We had an important national exam coming, and if there was ever a moment I knew I wanted to do well in Chinese, it was now. But wanting to change and knowing how to change are different things. I knew I needed help, so I told myself that I would ask my Chinese teacher for a consultation. There was just one problem. I had social anxiety. And to be honest, I never had much of a relationship with her. We barely spoke, so the idea of asking her for help felt almost impossible. I even went to the school counselor because I couldn't bring myself to send that one message. But in the end, I knew I had to just do it. I asked, not for a full consultation yet, just for tips, And after a brief back and forth and hearing my situation, she offered to meet me for a consultation. I was stunned. I genuinely believed that she had given up on supposedly bad students like me. Yet, there she was, ready to help without hesitation. We agreed to meet at the staff room a few days after the Chinese New Year celebrations, and I still remember the celebration so clearly. I was on the left of the concert hall and she was on the stage, happily singing Chinese songs, waving her hand in the air, completely filled with joy. Watching her, something inside me felt different. For the first time, I actually felt hope. Someone believed I could do well in Chinese, even when I didn't. But before our first consultation could happen, everything changed. I heard the news from a friend, whose friend's parent worked in the school. The staff had been informed that a teacher had passed away. That was my teacher. The shock hit deeper than I expected. I wasn't even close to her, but the idea that she believed me and it vanishing overnight was something that my mind just couldn't process. I didn't think I would cry, but I remember sitting against the wall, holding back my tears as my chest felt heavy and heart palpitating. It was the first time I had a mild panic attack. There's this quote from BoJack Horseman that I related to a lot. Suddenly, you realize you'll never have the good relationship you wanted, as long as they were alive. Even though you'd never admit it, part of you, the stupidest goddamn part of you, was still holding on to that chance. And you didn't even realize it until the chance went away. My mother is dead, and everything is worse now. Anyways, did you know that a 2017 study by UC Berkeley researchers identified 27 distinct categories of emotions after analyzing participants' responses to videos? Probably not, especially if you're a guy that bottles up your feelings and shoves it down your throat. Most people aren't very emotionally aware, but how do you even expect to solve emotional pains if you don't even know what it is, where it's coming from, nor when it started? That's like getting jumped into a Pokemon battle, but you don't know what Pokemon you're facing and what level you need before going into the fight. After over a year of reflecting on my first encounter of death and many experiences of intense emotional outbursts, I realized the first step is always to identify what emotion it was. This could be as simple as searching up this color wheel and identifying which option you relate to the most. Once you know how you actually feel, you should think about what it means. What is this emotion telling you? Maybe you're exhausted. If so, why are you exhausted? Do you want to rest? Maybe you feel hurt because your friend did something that upset you, and do you want to talk to them about it? Once you know why you feel this way, the first question is, can you even do anything to make this bad feeling go away? If it's just a quick message, then go do it. But if you're in a meeting and you can't take some time off, do some breathing exercises, or take a break, then shove that feeling away and continue with the meeting or whatever you're doing. Just do it and willpower through. What if you have more than one option? Perhaps you feel uncertain about what degree to study. Biology? Chemistry? Well, flip a coin. Just do it. In psychology, there's this concept of a coin flip test. When you're unsure of a decision, let one option be for heads and let the other for tails. Then flip it. You aren't actually going to follow what result it shows, but at least when it lands on heads, you can envision how the option will play out, and you can get a true sense of how you feel about this option when compared to other. This happens because you feel a sense of forced commitment. When you're about to be locked into one outcome, your emotional system reacts instantly, and your true preferences surface before your rational brain can hide it. This should be pretty relatable if you've worked in F&B before, where you know how a customer asks you what you recommend, but then decides to rage bait you instead and choose a different option. Then in your head you're thinking, why did you even bother asking me if you weren't going to listen to me? Well, they're obviously unconscious about this concept. When you recommend a specific meal, the customer envisions how much they think they would actually enjoy the meal you recommended, relative to the meal that they were thinking of in their head, making them feel that they have made a more informed decision. My point being, ultimately, when you feel conflicted between choices, even after fully considering the pros and cons of different options, there's nothing more to rationalize. Rationally and logically, all options are equal, and you should just do it. And go with whichever makes you feel better. This actually ties into the second kind of emotional pain, the suffering that comes from resisting one's desires. How is it related? You're probably not asking. Yeah, I'm gonna get there, you know. To begin, let's talk about why we even resist our desires. Oversimplifying here, According to the book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, our brain has two systems. The first is the fast limbic system, also known as your lizard brain. It is paramount in making quick but usually impulsive decisions. It is extremely effective in doing this by taking a ridiculous number of shortcuts that you aren't even aware of. It is so effective in performing these shortcuts that you don't even notice anything wrong about your perception of the world. You know how when you close one eye and after a while, when you open it again, your vision is blurry? Or when you're tired and groggy and then you close both eyes and you open it and suddenly everything is blurry. And then quickly, it goes back to normal. That's an example of your brain trying to use a shortcut to fuse the visions from both your eyes into one coherent picture. The second system is the slower, calculative prefrontal cortex, imperative in making critical decisions and evaluating options. While the limbic system is fast, and one would think faster the better, this system often reacts too fast to have the evidence to back up its decisions. It relies entirely on past experience and biology, the former being built on a body that has never exercised before, while the latter being built on ancestors who were forced to be fit and thus never developed a great motivational system to encourage the body to exercise. This is why when it comes to desire, the limbic system is the first to react and wants to quit, but you resist this desire because your prefrontal cortex evaluates that exercising is the most worth your time at the moment. Now, knowing this, it makes sense why if you put your feelings of wanting to give up through the emotional regulation system talked about just now, you will realize that the rational conclusion would be to just not quit. After all, you've already started exercising. Following through won't hurt you permanently, and you get the benefit of being fitter. This makes the act of exercising inherently beneficial. So before throwing in the towel, think about whether System 1 or System 2 is speaking, then just do it. Sometimes rationalizing is not enough. The urge takes over and you tried your best to use the steps mentioned before to reduce as much willpower as you need to not give up. But before you commit to any act, our last resort to prevent yourself from doing something that you wouldn't want is to use sheer willpower. This could mean repeating a mantra in your head. For me, I like the quote I first heard from Amy Wang: "Pain is temporary and success is forever." Or it could just be reminding yourself to just do it. And of the reasons that you want to just do it. Now, take whatever you want to do and replace exercise with it. Okay, rational thought and willpower no longer works. Let's use the limbic system against itself. If you find yourself tempted to do something, just distance yourself from the thing that allows you to break this habit you've built. If it's junk food, throw it away. If it's social media, put your phone in a different room. Similarly, you can just walk through a couple doors. Just do it. I know it sounds bizarre, but one way to short-circuit, in a sense, the limbic system is by quickly changing the setting you're in. This is extremely effective because if you could forget what you want to do when you finally get off your couch and go to your room, or forget where the remote control is when it's in your hands, then you'll definitely forget the urge to quit after just changing the setting a few times. It's also the reason why people go out for a breath of fresh air or walk, or why driving is supposed to ease the stress. This is because changing the setting tricks your brain into believing that there is no longer danger, because the danger your limbic system felt before was in a place that you were about to give up, and thus, if you're not there, you don't feel it. Let's say you've gone past the point of no return. What can you do? You're gonna do it, no matter what, okay? The common therapeutic approach in addiction psychiatry involves asking the person, what is the next best step you can take? If you can't resist the urge to scroll, what is the next best thing you can do? Maybe it's like, don't scroll during dinner. Okay, sure. Once you can control your impulse to stop scrolling during dinner, it's a lot easier to not scroll in class, then don't do it at home, then the whole day, then a week, and more. Now, with these strategies, I hope you realize that our modern day life has made pain all in your head, and thus it isn't something rational to be afraid of. Remember, just do it. Now, follow along as I learn more about life and post life advice just like this one. for a walk. Go for a walk. Go for a walk. Go, 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 go. Go for a walk.
Oh, good eye, mate.
Once a week and slowly walk your way. And slowly work your way. And slowly work your way